There was so much packed into 1 hour-long Nintendo Direct presentation that naturally, Nintendo didn't tell you everything in great detail, and that's what I want to actually do today. Focus on a lot of the different big highlight announcements that actually have some details that you probably want to know that have come to light following their announcement, such as the price point and ways that they are packaging and positioning the Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 bundle. A really big asterisk with this entire Virtual Boy coming to NSO conversation, and some big confirmations of the rest of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy being officially confirmed, a pretty big sale on the price point around the game for early adopters. Yes, some more confirmations of key cards and file sizes and all of that. So we are going to break all of that down. Before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And we are going to first kick it off right over at VGC, where they do have the write-up on how much Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 is going to cost. And I predicted this as a $60 bundle, a little bit higher than that, but you do have the option to purchase them separately as well. Nintendo Switch Mario Galaxy Collection will retail for $70. Each Mario Galaxy game will be available digitally for $40. So if you're digital, you own the 3D All-Stars collection, you do have the option to pick that up as standalone at $40. Granted, I think that we're shooting a little bit high here on this price point, but I think Nintendo just kind of knows they can charge it with Mario, and that's what we're seeing here. But that means the 2-game collection will cost $10 more than Nintendo's last anniversary collection, Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which included 3 titles and was only on sale for a year. For those who already own the 3D All-Stars, which includes the first set of Mario Galaxy games, Nintendo has confirmed that it will sell Galaxy and Galaxy 2 individually for $40 on the eShop. Nintendo was the first console manufacturer to introduce the $80 game pricing this year with the introduction of the Switch 2 and the launch title Mario Kart World. Fortunately, we haven't seen any other $80 games since then, but this kind of makes you remember that Nintendo's reaching a little bit on the price point sometimes nowadays. Super Mario Galaxy plus Super Mario Galaxy 2 for the Nintendo Switch was announced earlier today and arrives on October 2nd to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Super Mario Bros. According to Nintendo, both titles feature, and this is big, new pieces of information we didn't know, feature improved UI, the option to play with the button and stick or motion controls, and in-game music player, new storybook content, and enhanced resolution. For Nintendo Switch 2, a free update will add 4K resolution support for both titles. Maybe this was there somewhere in the small print. I definitely didn't see it at the time of filming and reacting to the Nintendo Direct, and I'm happy to see that there is a free update pack that will bring 4K support to both of these games for the Switch 2, because I am picking this one up physically and keeping it for the collection. It does sound like, according to some reports from Nintendo, there is some talk about this game being, once again, limited time in terms of how long it will be available on retail shelves. So it's probably one that if you are a physical collector, you want to have everything that Nintendo ever released or certain things that are bigger, this is probably one of the worthwhile titles to pick up and actually keep sealed maybe, and also just get Galaxy 2 digitally. I think that's actually what I'm leaning towards doing. I will say, however, though, this one having Galaxy 1 now available at 4K, I don't think Nintendo's going to go back and update 3D All-Stars, where I previously owned Galaxy, to be able to take care of that 4K support. So maybe next time I want to play Mario Galaxy, I may look into this once again. But yeah, some retailers, it sounds like that this is going to be, once again, a limited time type of deal. It will eventually go away, and you do have the option for 4K support for the Nintendo Switch 2 version of both the games, which is good. It's nice, improved control, UI, all that stuff. I'm excited to replay Galaxy 2. It has been years and years, and if you are somebody who just buys your games digitally and you own the 3D All-Stars collection, you can definitely just opt to get Galaxy 2 only and not spring for that additional money of rebuying Galaxy 1 at a $40 price point, or just basically spending an extra $30 if you're only in it for Galaxy 2 if you want the physical edition. But kind of a shame that they don't also offer the option of people, who did get 3D Mario All-Stars, like some kind of solution for a physical cartridge. I get the reason why they'd be separating them at that point at a $40 price point physically, and they probably just don't want to go through that additional shipping and the additional options of having that on the shelves. So I guess the fact that we're getting a complete on-cartridge collection of them, period, is somewhat of a win, but definitely a stretch at a $70 price point, especially for the subsect of users that own Galaxy One already as part of Mario 3D All-Stars collection. So definitely not the best news with that. We do also know that Amiibo are coming, and there's some, you know, good looks at what we're getting with that. I will probably be looking into these. Amiibo, a little bit too expensive to just jump on immediately, but nonetheless, all this stuff, just to remind you, April 2nd is not when it's going to take a while for the Amiibo to launch, but October 2nd, we are getting both of these games playable on our Nintendo consoles, Switch and Switch 2, and some interesting new details that did come out around them. Moving on from there, and we really have to spend a little bit of time on this because the Virtual Boy is, of course, now confirmed to be coming to the expansion pack for Nintendo Classics. Well, there's a big asterisk with this entire conversation because the Virtual Boy accessory, or by bare minimum, the cardboard box that they offer as well, it's actually required to play these games, period. So games from the Virtual Boy system are coming back to Nintendo Switch, are coming soon rather, to Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. Virtual Boy games are joining the lineup. The list of classic games is growing. On February 17th, 2026, the Virtual Boy Nintendo Classics library will be available to play on Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch systems with the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack membership. Okay, so they have the overview video, which is pretty much what we had already seen in this previous presentation, and nothing really too new here. But what is kind of something you probably want to know, so two things actually. Please keep in mind, Virtual Boy Nintendo Classics will only be available in the United States and Canada. I didn't look at the Japan Direct to see if they're getting this as well. It might be available in Japan on some level, but that's, I mean, the EU, I would assume you could probably still figure out a way to order this stuff, but that's a very limited market. I mean, it's Nintendo's biggest market, mind you, but still surprising to see that they're going to bring an entire tier or a new console library to systems and only have them available in United States and Canada. That's according to Nintendo's own information page at the time of filming. So interesting choice there. Paid Nintendo Switch Online members will be able to purchase the Virtual Boy for Nintendo Switch 2/Nintendo Switch and Virtual Boy cardboard model for Nintendo Switch 2/Nintendo accessories. Use either accessory with your system to enjoy select Virtual Boy games with 3D visuals. Now, here's the big thing. You do have further on down the page here in the fine print, a Virtual Boy for Nintendo Switch 2/Nintendo Switch and Virtual Boy cardboard model for Nintendo Switch/Nintendo Switch 2 are required to play the Virtual Boy Nintendo Classics collection of games. So this is not something that you can actually enjoy these games on your handheld display or on a TV and get the same gameplay experience. You have to play it through the Virtual Boy viewer, which is kind of insane because Nintendo is selling an accessory at that point. Oh, which, by the way, before we dive back into that, we do have the price points around both of these. One of them being high, very expensive, but it is a one-to-one model with the Virtual Boy. $99 for the Virtual Boy system replica for the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2. At least one model fits both systems. And then the cardboard model for Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 is $24.99. Okay. So Nintendo is selling us an accessory that is required to play a collection of subscription-based games. So games that you don't technically own, but you need to be a subscriber to own. And yes, it's adding in value to the subscription pack, but you legitimately have, as at the time of filming, they may change this and add in on console play in the future, but I would have loved to see the option just to go ahead and be able to play these when you are a paid subscriber, either way, of if you own the glasses or not, or the Virtual Boy replica or the cardboard or not. But I think the way that Nintendo's launching this is actually where it splits the image on the eyes by default, and there's not a way to toggle that on or off. And yes, 3D play will be supported for certain titles, but to the point where they're not supporting the ability to play these standard in 2D, which is really interesting to see. So again, it's just one of those that I do think is probably somewhat of a misstep. I think it's safe to say, I think Nintendo could attract more people to check out the Virtual Boy library of games if they didn't require a $99 accessory and or $25 if you want the cardboard. But let's be real, if you're going to get into the Virtual Boy library of games, you're probably going to opt for the $99 headset anyway. I will definitely be checking it out here on the channel and sharing my impressions with it and everything. But yeah, it's one of those things that now you have a cost of admission of $100 to kind of get into that. I guess 25 if you're being charitable with the cardboard version, to get into that ecosystem of games that are part of a subscription service. I really think Nintendo needs to update this to allow us to play those Virtual Boy games with or without the headset. But here's hoping they do that in the future. But definitely big detail and some pricing you probably wanted to know that I don't think was explicitly outlined in this direct presentation so far. Okay, moving on next, we have, it's official, the Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy will also release for Switch 2 and Xbox, but it's not clear if the third game will be a timed PlayStation exclusive. So you have here, on Friday, the publisher announced that the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade will be released for Nintendo Switch 2 and Xbox Series X and S on January 22nd, 2026. It added that's not all. The Remake Trilogy will also be making its way to Switch 2, Xbox Series X and S, and Xbox on PC as well as PlayStation 5, Steam, and Epic Games Store. This is the first confirmation that Rebirth and the unannounced third game, the Remake Trilogy, will be released for Nintendo and Xbox platforms. So kind of what we've talked about this whole time. We just have it actually committed in plain text at this point from Square Enix, but we've talked about how Square Enix has definitely said they're going aggressively multi-platform. They have a long history with Nintendo. They're not seeing the sales success that they need from selling basically their Final Fantasy franchise and other franchises exclusive to PlayStation. And so they're really backtracking that, bringing it to all consoles. Good timing with the Switch having powerful enough hardware to run these 7 Remake games up to a certain standard. And obviously 7 Remake is receiving a ton of praise for the way it looks and runs on Switch 2 right now. So having the confirmation that we're getting the whole trilogy is nice, because while it was to be expected, now we just actually have, you know, we can set full expectations that if you pick up Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade on the Switch 2 rather, you're going to be able to play through the entire trilogy of games and not have to worry about, you know, maybe being left out of that last one. But as it was pointed out, we don't know if PlayStation may have like a year timed exclusive or more for something like the third installment in the trilogy. So that part's not clear yet, but either way, whether it's a time delay or not, we will get all 3 games released on the Switch 2. And you might want to know this if you are interested in Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, because as Wario64 over on X points out, the Switch is $39.99 for a limited time as an early purchase on the US eShop, and the Deluxe is $59.99. So they have a limited early purchase edition of the game, which is going to be a discount over what it will cost whenever the game actually launches. So I don't know what the standard prices are going to after this launches, but as of right now, if you know you are going to want to pick up this game, you can get it for $40, just the base edition. So maybe do some research into what's added in the Deluxe. It's a $20 price hike, so I would really just assume if you want to check this out for the first time, you could probably get the extra stuff from the Deluxe version later on. Check it out at that $40 price point. That's a pretty big deal in my opinion, just for being able to play, you know, this game on the Switch 2 for the first time, a portable console that's going to run it great, a hybrid console rather, but you know, you're going to run a great handheld or in dock play. And yeah, I would definitely say that early sale, it has my attention. I will probably be picking it up that way myself, because we do also know that this is going to be a game key card, and there's quite a few confirmations of this out of the direct, but this one understandably so. The file size is 90 gigabytes, so it would not be able to fit on a standard 64 gigabyte game card. So yes, we are already at this point in the generation where the standard size of the Nintendo Switch 2 game card, that is 64 gigabytes, that Nintendo put out as the one option, the standard that companies can choose to use, or a game key card. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade goes so far past that it's just clear you would have to do additional download require. At which point you might as well do the game key card, because if you don't have a full game on the cartridge, there is no point in saying that the physical version, you know, is great for preservation or anything like that. So last thing on Final Fantasy VII Remake real quick, introducing brand new streamlined progression features in Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade on Switch 2, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. I guess this is something of a new mode that they're going to do to, if you really just want to go through the story and not have to worry about dying or having any problems in difficulty whatsoever, but you want to be there for the retelling of Final Fantasy VII and seeing everything that they did with all the cutscenes, and still enjoy the world and the environments, but just have no challenge or real strategy or thought that has to go into the combat. Well, you can see here, you would always have maximum HP and MP, always deal 999 damage to enemies, and always have max number of items with some exceptions. So basically, it's a god mode for the game. You can just run through, do what you need to do, not have to worry about dying or really healing up or anything like that. If you do, you have unlimited items, and well, you are always going to be max HP. So the ultimate easy mode for the game will be supported. Then you do have the confirmation, last couple things we're going to close out with here, that Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, due to the box art being out there, so this is one of those games. It's coming to Switch 1. It's a full on cartridge retail release. Coming to Switch 2, it is a game key card. So yes, I do still think that that 64 gigabyte cartridge and the price around that holds a lot of weight to why companies are doing the game key card. Not only might you see something like longer load times, like what the Star Wars Outlaws devs over at Ubisoft were mentioning, but also there's just situations where a game like this that probably could be on a full physical cartridge is not, because the cost of it is too high for the developer or publisher to stomach eating that additional cost. And they don't want to push on that price to the consumer, so they released the physical edition as a game key card for Nintendo Switch 2. So you can pick up this game Switch 1. Hopefully it has a Switch 2 upgrade available. I don't know that we have that information just yet, but that's another confirmation out of there. And then finally, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is the largest Nintendo IP game that will be released in file size. The game will have a file that is 44.9 gigabytes in size, remembering that it will be complete on cartridge. So fortunately, this one is underneath 64 gigabytes. It's also for technically first-party Nintendo in terms of how it's published, so this will be a complete on-cartridge game, which is nice to see, and it's definitely using a decent amount of that 64 gigabyte cartridge so far. So lots of new little interesting details outside of that direct. After we kind of ran through a full hour of announcements with no stopping, took a minute to digest and see all the information started to hit online and kind of go through some of the details one by one. So I wanted to do that with you all today. Let me know your thoughts on the Mario Galaxy Collection. Are you going to be picking up those two games, and will you be doing it individually at a $40 price point, or maybe just getting Galaxy 2 digitally, or will you spring for the $70 price point physically, and what do you think of that price point? How do you feel about the Virtual Boy news with the price around the accessory and the fact that the accessory is required to actually play the Virtual Boy games? Are you interested in Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate? And what do you think about the price point, the early adoption rate, or whatever it is, the early sale, and the fact that it's a key card and coming in at 90 gigabytes? And is Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, will you pick that up Switch 1 version if it has an upgrade to Switch 2? And what do you think about some of the first-party published Nintendo titles already coming close to that 64 gigabyte cartridge size, in Age of Imprisonment now being confirmed at 44 gigabytes. So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.